Goods traffic is a very important part to most railways, and it was no exception on the North Western Railway. There are many kinds of trucks on the railway, all with unique purposes and usually troublesome personalities, the worst behaved being the ballast trucks. All the engines on the Little Western branch line could manage these hoppers with minimal trouble, but the other engines weren't so lucky. One afternoon, Boko had made his way up the Little Western, as Douglas had broken down at Wellsworth that morning. Douglas had warned him about the ballast trucks and their antics. "Oh, don't worry," reassured Boko. "I can manage a few hoppers just fine. After all, I pulled the scrap without too much trouble." Boko had shunted the trucks under the chute, and Mike had moved the ballast wagons on top of it. Soon the wagons had been unloaded, and Boko now had a full train of ballast. But when he tried to move, he found himself slipping slowly forward. The ballast trucks giggled behind him. "You're moving, you!" he panted as he crept forward. But the trucks just laughed.
"We won't move for engines who think they can rip trucks apart any time they please,"
called the truck at the front, referring to Boko's incident with the old scrap truck. Boko was cross. "You don't decide where you go. Us engines take you where you belong. Now come on!" But the trucks continued to hold him back. With one great heave, the coupling broke and Boko shot forward suddenly. The trucks laughed rudely.
"That'll teach you!"
they cried in unison. Boko reversed crossly and gave the trucks a sharp bump, but this time as he set off, they followed more quietly. Boko finally brought them to the big station after a replacement coupling had been found. He rolled crossly away to be refueled. The ballast trucks laughed and began talking with other trucks.
"There's more of us than there are of them,"
said one of the ballast trucks darkly. "I say we teach them what for," added another.
"Where are our repaints and washdowns?"
shouted the truck at the back. The trucks were all agreed. They were all unfairly treated.
"We must take action to set this right,"
they decided at last. And so the next morning, the ballast trucks refused to move, as did all the other trucks. The engines were cross, but no matter what they did, they just couldn't get the trucks to move.
"You need us more than we need you,"
teased a plank wagon as Percy tried to move a line of them. "Is that all you have? How disappointing!" a line of vans as James struggled to get them moving. "This is madness," sighed Duck. All the engines agreed something had to be done, but none of them knew what. Even Edward was having trouble with the trucks. He had had to take a train to the scrapyard, and the trucks had bumped him into no end. The old engine was feeling quite sore after the trip. "We've got to do something," said Boko that evening. "We can't keep on as we are." Indeed, although I'm not sure how. They don't seem to be interested in what us engines have to say. Unless, thought Edward. "Unless what?" asked Boko. Edward said nothing, but he winked at the diesel. The following day, the trucks sat happily around the yard. Their brakes were jammed on, and they were looking forward to lazing about all day. But not for long. The fat controller strode over to the line of ballast trucks, before stopping suddenly in front of the first. "I hear from my engines that you've all decided to take an extended holiday. Well, I hate to disappoint, but I have a railway to run, and you have loads that need moving." The trucks just jeered at him.
"You can't make us move."
The fat controller adjusted his hat and held his jacket as he grew more stern. "Listen to me. I understand your feelings, but you seem to forget. You are part of my railway, and I say what goes. If I find something causing a disruption to the smooth running of my railway, I make swift actions to correct it. Do I make myself clear?" The trucks glanced nervously at each other, some of them rather shaken, but the ballast trucks weren't fazed and chuckled devilishly at the Fat Controller's words.
Is that so, Fat Hat? And how will you correct us for disrupting your railway?
The Fat Controller paused impressively. It would seem, in this particular case, I am left with no other option than to call the manager at the large ironworks I'm sure you are aware of. Please excuse me, I must go and make the arrangements.
You don't frighten us,
called the ballast trucks, but they were a little nervous. They became even more nervous when they were left in the yards and noticed the Scottish twins pulling what looked like new ballast wagons. Eventually, all the other trucks had gone back to work, except the ballast trucks. I think we've made our point clear, said the oldest truck. Perhaps we should go back to work. The other trucks were quick to agree.
Don't be such a nervous old wreck,
called the first truck.
They're just trying to scare us. You lot can go back to work if you're so scared. I'm staying right here.
And he did too. When the Fat Controller came to see the trucks again, they apologized and asked to return to work. Except for the first one. He still rebelled against the railway, so the Fat Controller left him in a siding for quite some time. Eventually, Harry and Bert came to take him to the ironworks. The other ballast trucks had been disheartened to see him go and promised the engines to try to be better trucks. Nobody thought to mention that the truck had been bought by the ironworks to be used to store waste.